Welcome everyone to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Tara. We talk about TV shows here. The year is 2022 and the name of the show is Babylon 5. This is season 4, episode 19. It is called Between the Darkness and the Light. So full spoilers for the episode as per usual. A lot of big stuff happened. There's a lot going on. We had obviously all the stuff with Sheridan's escape, with Garibaldi, with Franklin and Lita, and then you also had all the big battle stuff with Ivanova and all that going on, as well as a few things back at the station. But this might be, not this episode specifically, but I think this last stretch of episodes is probably the littlest we've ever seen of the station in each episode, like in a stretch, because up until like earlier this season, like every episode was mostly set on the station, and then like now we've got like one plot's on Mars, the other plot's on the ships that are out flying towards Mars, and like so it's kind of interesting. But
yeah, you're right.
Lots of big stuff to talk about. Did you feel like you missed an episode at the start when it started?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, because it starts off with Sheridan. He's sitting talking to Franklin. He's like, "Oh, it's so good to have you back," and I'm like, "Okay, either this is like some sort of weird dream, or like this is."
He was like set free or something.
Yeah, this is because I thought, oh, they try to like play us to make us think that maybe he did crack and like he's done what they wanted, kind of thing. And then obviously it's like, no, it's like this is the interrogators. Just he's got him hooked up to some stuff, and this is what he's imagining as the interrogators try to like get stuff out of him.
Do you think that this is setting up for now every time we see Sheridan alone with another character that it might be in his head?
I had not considered that. I would say that unless we get a second example, I will probably not assume that, but
okay,
if they do
because I'm going to be skeptical from this moment on. If like, is this scene actually happening?
Maybe if they swing back around to that, maybe they'll do something where he's got some post-traumatic stress from like his interrogation stuff. Like maybe he's going to have some lingering effects of that. Although he seems pretty together by the end of the episode, so I don't know if they'll play with that or not.
Well, I mean, so did Garibaldi. When he came back to the station.
Yeah, but we speculated right away with him, did we not?
We did, yeah, because we saw like nobody rescued him. Like, he was just released back in. So, but he did seem like, although he wasn't quite himself, he did seem like he was, I don't know, not like there wasn't like messages constantly being transmitted to him.
Yeah, but like I feel like that was immediately there was like reason to speculate. Whereas here, I'm not sure unless they play with something where he starts having conversations with characters because the end of this episode it does kind of seem like Ivanov is dying, and I do maybe like that's how we still have her around for like some episodes, is because he sees her like Force Ghost style.
That'd be interesting.
Talks to Ivanova.
I don't know. Maybe we should wait and talk about it when we get to that scene. But
so yeah, lots of thoughts to be had here. Early on, I think we'll start with the Garibaldi stuff. We'll start with that side of things. He's like trying to contact the resistance on Mars, and he does. Everyone knows what he did though, so they're all like they immediately just like double cross him and like arrest him effectively. Kidnap him and take him back to headquarters. And Franklin and Lita are there. We know they were there on Mars from before, so that makes sense. And Franklin sounds disgusted with him, and he's like not happy to see him, and he tells Garibaldi to shut up when Garibaldi says something to him, when he's got the sack in his head. But of course, Garibaldi, he's claiming all these things, that it wasn't him, it was Bester. And eventually he clocks Lita there and says, Lita, scan me, like, show that this is true, show that this is what happened. And there's a couple of things here. I mean, honestly, I think I thought it'd be interesting if she couldn't like go deep enough, because she says like this would take a deep scan, which is dangerous, and they've set that up in the last few episodes, which is cool. And he says, I don't care, do it. Like, if they're going to kill me anyway, like I might as well risk the deep scan, because at least I might survive that.
Yeah.
But she says there's something like these are level 12 psychop like blocks that are in your brain, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be?
That's enough proof, right? Also.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought to myself. Like, wouldn't that be interesting if they can't prove it exactly, but that does suggest like that he's maybe telling the truth. Like there's at least something's happened where Bester or someone like Bester has put blocks in his head. That at least corroborates the story, but doesn't necessarily prove every detail. So there's still a little like room for the characters to doubt him, but they still kind of have to accept that maybe something happened. Like, and obviously it doesn't happen. Like he's like, hey, you can break that, right? And we know that she was enhanced with the Vorlons and all that, so she does go full psychic. To the point where, to convince the blonde lady from the Resistance, she turns around with the full black eyes and like it's like here you can see it all too, so you can know it's all true, and she gets like a quick psychic hit of all this exposition.
Lita's breaking all the rules. Like once she breaks this rule, she's like, screw it, I'm just gonna like scan everybody and put images in people's brains and stuff. I love it.
Hey, things are getting dire. I think part of it is that she probably did like Garibaldi from before, so and at this point, like they have this little standoff here where the blonde's going to kill him still anyway. She doesn't care, and like the others have to like stop her, and like, that's how she gets the scan, because she's like, I don't care if she scans him. Like I don't trust telepaths. That's kind of their attitude. So, but obviously Franklin's like, no, if there's a chance this is true, if there's a chance that he is telling the truth and if this was coerced or something like that, then we have to know. But then it becomes, okay, right, there's a limited window before the ship Sheridan back to Earth. We could maybe rescue him, so we get like a little mission, a little rescue attempt. So yeah, what did you think of this particular scene though, this big standoff and the scan and all that, because there was a lot sort of packed in there.
Yeah, a lot was happening in this, but I immediately once Lita was like, oh, there's some really like deep scans here, it has to be done by somebody in a PsyCop or higher. And I'm like, oh, well, that should be enough proof. Why? I mean, I guess if they just wanted to have as much information as possible, why risk going deeper into his brain at that point to like possibly injure him for
I wouldn't
life?
call it proof, but I would say it's enough reasonable doubt, if that makes sense.
And that would be enough to be like, to stop and say, well, I'm not going to risk hurting your mind any more than that. Although he seems to be okay by the end of it, so maybe Lita is capable of more than she knows. I think
it makes sense to me that Garibaldi is willing and does want her to go deeper, because I think Garibaldi would want nothing more at this moment than to like definitively prove that he is not what he just did. Like, this wasn't him.
Yeah, he probably is willing to die for it too. Yeah. Just to clean his record, and so he doesn't, have that shame over him. Also, I did have a thought about Lita in this, how she's able to just project the image into other people's minds. Like, how powerful is that for her, with her enhancements and stuff, and with what we saw at the end of the Shadow War, what she was able to do, and she was able to like project quite a lot. So can she like project, because that woman went from like, I don't trust anybody, I hate all, anybody who's connected to Psy-Corps, any psychics or whatever, to like, oh, I understand, I see the truth. And now
it wasn't,
because that was such a a turn that it was a bit like, oh, I wonder if she can like, I mean, since she's breaking all the rules now, is she going to be able to do that to like convince everybody that what the truth really is?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key things there is that it's not like she just got like a quick slideshow in her head, because she could still doubt that. I think one of the key things here is that she also feels all these memories, right? That's part of it. It's not just seeing them, it's like feeling them and like understand. Because they've talked about that in the past, where the telepaths will say when they have to relive the crime, they can feel the attack, they can feel being the victim in the memory. So same thing goes here. Like, not only are you seeing this conversation with Bester and all these other moments, you're also seeing how Garibaldi felt on the inside as it was happening. You're feeling the moments. So I have to assume that in that quick dose of all this exposition, she's also feeling what all those moments felt like.
But I'm saying, like, can this be something that's used later on to convince people who are not on the side, or on the side of Clark, to be like, here's what the truth really is? And like, is she going to pull like in a Professor Xavier moment and just give it to everybody? Like, maybe I'm reaching too much, but like, who knows how powerful she is because of the Vorlons.
Look at that, another X-Men reference. They've been flying in thick and fast recently. Yeah. That's good. I mean, if nothing else, like maybe some key select people who need to be convinced of things, like it is a tool that they've got kind of in their tool belt now. Is like Lita can sort of, because I think that's maybe some of the more poignant thing you can do is you can have her try to convince someone by showing them the truth, and then but that person's actually doesn't care because they're that evil or corrupt, or they're that like so devout in their beliefs they don't care.
I know what the truth is.
Yeah, they already know what the truth is. They don't give a shit. Yeah. So you could make some sort of darker like points about humanity with that, about how some people think by them just not caring. So some interesting ideas there. So we got in this little mission, and I laughed diabolically a little bit here, not because they did anything stupid, but so like Blonde Lady gives them one resistance fighter to show them how to get into like these under tunnels up to where Sheridan's being held, and the actress who's shown them around, unless I am mistaken, and I'm going to double check as I'm saying this, but this actress is notable from what I recognize her from, but also notable in how it actually somehow connects back to Babylon 5 already.
Who is she?
Right. So the actress's name is Musetta Vander, who I would never be able to tell you that. But I know her because she's in an episode of the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But here's the interesting part. No, you're going to like this. You're going to like this. The reason why this was funny to me is because she is the episode, she's the hot teacher, if you will, who turns out to be a she-praying mantis. The mantis puppet, someone in the comments a while ago told us that the same company made the mantis puppet and Buffy made the mantis that's in Babylon 5. Wow. So this is actually kind of like a circular reference back right to Babylon 5.
I miss Zorak. Bring him back.
So I laughed a little bit when she popped up because I was like, oh, this is kind of weird.
That's funny.
Yeah. I thought you'd appreciate that little bit of trivia.
I love Mantis.
Yeah. Even more than you hate my Buffy references. Yeah,
it does outweigh that.
Yeah, good. I'm happy. So they go into the thing. There was a little bit of almost out of place kind of light comedy on this little trip. Mm-hmm. There's a little joke where Garibaldi says Lita's better at lying than Franklin is because he's terrible at it, and Lita gets really offended, and it's like a really comical way she kind of plays it off. Where I'm like, wait,
I'm gonna sue somebody.
Yeah,
it was cringe.
It's the sort of thing where I was wondering, like, are they trying to put this little bit of humor in here because the last episode was so dark with just being the interrogation all episode, that they wanted to just try and lighten this one up a little bit.
It was a weird character moment though. Like she's never acted like this before, and she's talking about suing people for like. Well, that defamation.
Was that was the part that was over the line. I thought the first part where she just sort of looked at him like, wait, what do you mean by that? Like, I thought that was fine. That was like, okay, that was a little funny. She reacted like to being told because she's like, she doesn't think of herself as a good liar. That's fine. It was when she sort of stood there for like an extra minute on her own and had this little like joke about suing people. I was like, this is okay. This is too much. Too much. Rein it in. But because she actually had a good moment later, because when they go in, and it was kind of nice seeing Garibaldi in his old grey uniform again, because they're dressing up as the Earth uniforms. They go in, and the whole idea is that Garibaldi can kind of get his way in because he's kind of on the news. He's famous because he's the one who turned Sheridan in. So he's kind of a minor celebrity. They let him in. When they get to the guards at the door, Lita does this thing where she goes up and she clearly like gives this guy like just like this instant fear to like freak him out so that they can like get in. And she sort of does this sort of like bite as she's like doing it at him, and I thought it was a really cool little moment just to sort of like really emphasize that she's just giving him a quick dose of like anxiety or something so that he like freaks out and then they can take him down.
She's gone full witch.
Yeah, that was a fun little beat.
I like that moment. I also like the guard like saying that he doesn't trust the news because it's all run by the liberal elite, and I'm like, oh wow, like because we have had like comments from people who are just like, everything from Babylon 5 is so poignant, but they're clearly not on that side. Like they're on the same side as this guy. I'm like, oh well, no, it seems like it's pretty clear like where JMS stood on his politics in this show.
Oh yeah, I don't think it makes sense. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff in this show about trying to understand each other's politics and coming to peaceful conclusions. But I think it's very clear when you like sort of relate it to real world scenarios, and the idea of like this type of character referring to the liberal elite. I didn't even realize that phrase went as far back as this. I thought that was a newer phrase, to be honest. I didn't realize that people said that about Hollywood and about media until later. But there it is. Which is funny because obviously, from the perspective of all the characters on the show, watching these like ISN propaganda programs where they're like defaming and slandering Sheridan and all that, that's like, oh, this feels like the ultra propaganda machine from Clark, who's very much not liberal, is very much the other end of the spectrum. But this guy doesn't trust TV, but the stuff that we've seen is very much more on his side, so it's kind of weird. But yeah, that
it was a line that stood out to me. I was just like, oh, well, then all those people can suck it.
Not beating around the bush for that. But they get into the room and Sheridan's there. He's like kind of out of it. Franklin tries to sort of wake him up a bit. He's kind of like a zombie though for a bit as they're trying to take him out. They have to fight their way out a little bit at the gate. What's notable here is Sheridan does like sort of like use the blaster like 5 times when he picks it up, because he's clearly a bit traumatized from what he's went through, and he sort of looks at Garibaldi for a moment, and it does kind of feel like we're going to probably have to spend an episode with them, like maybe Garibaldi keeps trying to talk to him, and like Sheridan says
Lita's gonna have to be there too.
or maybe Sheridan's going to try and avoid talking to him because he doesn't want to. But eventually there's going to be they're going to eventually have a scene where Garibaldi tries to like make peace with him, and it's it could be a good dramatic scene, I think.
Well, I mean, after what he's gone through, he's going to have some sort of sympathy.
Oh, for sure. Which actually leads me to one of the scenes that I really loved in this episode, which is it's just one of the few scenes in Babylon 5. It's Delenn like hears there's some sort of vote going on, and like her and Lanier run to the chambers.
A vote being done by Mollari.
Yeah, so immediately they're like, oh god, what is that madman doing? Right? And the funny thing is, so they come in and he's like finishing his speech, and they take this vote, and you think, oh, what's he up to? But you notice that Jakar's sitting there, and he also votes. Like he also it's unanimous.
Yeah. You see Jakar right away,
and you're like, wait, what's Jakar agreeing to with this? And then it turns out Londo explains what he's doing, and he's like, look, Sheridan helped all of us during that war, even though after everything I did, Sheridan like ultimately proved to be there for everyone and have everyone's best interests at heart. And Jakar stands up and says, yeah, like it turns out humans are the one thing we have in common, and if what's happening on Earth and them taking in Sheridan, if what the path this is going down is that Earth wants to turn into a state that rejects aliens, and if that happens, then suddenly this like glue that's keeping the different species working together is going to fall apart, then that's bad for all of us. But I think why it works as a TV show is because basically what they're saying is that no, Sheridan has been good to all of us, and we owe it to him to stick up for him, so we offer you our ships. We are offering you an alliance to like support this movement. It has to be it has to be the humans at the front because it's their war against their own people, but we're standing behind you. Like, you've got our support. And coming from Londo and like him smiling at Delenn, and Delenn kind of like accepting this, and like this was just good vibes. It was like, oh, like it felt like everything that happened in the first 3.5 seasons of the show has like earned disrespect amongst these characters, and it's so weird. It's what we've said before, is that if you show Londo and Jakar agreeing in something now, it's like, oh, it
means a lot more.
It means more. It means something because of everything those two have went through with each other. So, and the fact that they agree on Sheridan, it's like, okay, that makes Sheridan feel like he's worth saving. I mean, we already thought that, obviously, but it makes it feel special that they're willing to do that.
And I guess it is the follow-up scene to them having the drink together.
Yeah, for sure. So, I love that scene.
I thought that scene was really good too. Plus, I think I learned another name of the aliens that have what I thought were gas masks. What is it? They're called something with a P. Oh, I forgot it already. Like the Pran?
So something like that, yeah. Yeah, because Londo's like saying, we would never have done this before. The Drazi would have never done this before, and they're all kind of, yeah. It's a really uplifting scene, and if anything, this is the true. Because even last episode when I was talking about how miserable it was, in a good way, it was like, but it's going to be so uplifting when people like want to save him and people want to root for him and things like that. And that's what this scene was. This was the the medicine to like deal with the pain of last episode. It was like, no, they all believe in Sheridan, they want to save him, and that's uplifting. So
right, yeah. It's good, and it's nice to have because what's happening right now is very much just an Earth and human thing. So what are all the alien races going to do in the meantime? So we have to have them do something. So this is nice, and it makes sense after the events of the Shadow War. And
they have largely been less involved for the last like several episodes because it has been mostly a human conflict.
And on Mars, away from the station.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. I forgot what I was going to say there. It was just a little point on one of those things. I think this is why it's important that last episode was just Sheridan on his own, because it made him feel alone because we didn't see anyone else. So because we kept away from all these other characters for an episode, finally getting to see them and they're all like saying, no, we need to save Sheridan, is really heartwarming because we felt it, because we were missing all these characters. It was just Sheridan in a dark room on his own for a whole episode. So, and that's partly why you do that way, is you deprive the audience of all the support that he will receive by just being there on your own with him. So it's good.
Yeah, you're right. It definitely was. It was such a downer, the last episode. Which is also why, because we spent a whole episode just with this conditioning that's happening. That even though he gets rescued at the end, before maybe they didn't get to use him to do the propaganda video, but that doesn't mean that they're not done with Sheridan still. Like, they maybe were able to do enough to be able to use him still, because he went to, he's back on the station, met up with Delenn, went and saw Ivanova, and no one is, and then it ends with him, captaining the Agamemnon. So what? There was no time for him to get a medical check or anything like that. So is he's still compromised, right?
I don't know if I get that feeling, to be honest.
No? Okay.
I don't think so. I don't think we're going down that route because they've already done it with Garibaldi. I don't think we're doing it again.
Maybe Garibaldi is the one who's going to recognize what's happening here.
Oh, maybe. Maybe they'll do something where he's got some PTSD from the trauma of it, but I don't think they're going to do a thing where he's been conditioned or he's been broken and changed in some way.
I don't know. I don't trust him.
I do. For the record, I do. But
I don't know. I think something bad's going to happen.
Just in case someone corrects in the comments, technically you don't see him back in the station. They're just on one of the White Stars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. This is not important. It's just.
Well, that's where Delenn was too? Was on the White Star?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the White Star corridors that were on, yeah.
I guess I just assumed because he saw Delenn and she was on the. I assumed that they went there for a moment.
Yeah, they mentioned Delenn was on her way to join the fleet though. She was one of the people who was joining up with them. Which leads us to the fleet stuff, which is. There's going to be a big attack. They're lying in wait for our White Star fleet, for our alliance. And
not everyone who has defected is actually, on their side, it turns out.
Yeah, some of them are leaking information back. The big thing though is that Clark has some new advanced fleet of ships. So a set of new destroyers that are more high tech. No one really knows for sure exactly how. It's all been very secretive. When we see them later, we of course recognize that they have incorporated shadow technology, which is cool. I love that that's still relevant. It's still something they're playing with. That's really neat.
It makes sense. The White Stars all have Vorlon technology. And
one of the things that Ivanova kind of figures out is that we kind of have to not bring the Earth ships that have defected. And partially you could say it's because we don't know which ones might not be completely on our side, but also partly because if they get destroyed and obliterated, then Clark can then spin this into it's all alien ships that were coming for us. There wasn't any Earth people who defected to because that makes them look weak. That there was people in the military who were changing sides because they didn't believe in what Clark's doing and what the status quo was. So she makes this choice to only go with the White Stars, and we get a pretty fun fight sequence where they have formations, and you get the sense that these bigger ships with the shadow tech are tougher. And I love that they still look like the regular Earth destroyers, though. They just have like extra shadowy like parts, and they've got like a sort of blacker color and stuff. Them doing all these maneuvers and sort of like they do take them out, but it basically destroys the entire like White Star fleet as well in doing so.
We get an Ivanova speech, which is just her seeing red and blood everywhere, and she is death and God sent her.
Yeah, she says
She's so intense.
I'm death incarnate or something. She really goes like
I mean, I know it's supposed to be a serious moment, but I laughed at it.
It was a bit much. Maybe went a little too far. I can agree. The only thing I didn't like about this stuff really was when the fight's over, but there's the big bit of debris that ultimately hits the main ship with Ivanova. When like Cole wakes up and he goes to like pick her up, it had that kind of like generic like destroyed ship set design where there's just like bits of tubing like hanging and stuff, and I'm like, this just kind of feels like people have thrown some random crap up to make it look destroyed, rather than it feels like it's actually being destroyed.
Well, yeah. Plus, he like moves a big thing, so he can access her, but we see it's just like it's almost like a panel that was elevated, so it wasn't actually on top of her. So he moves that, and then he like lifts a piece of paper off of her, and he's like, "Oh my God, you were crushed."
Yeah, it's just, and maybe this is just the budget, and that's fine, that's whatever.
Sure.
But
I understand. It's a bit nitpicky. It's not really something I have an issue with. It's part of the charm of the show.
Yeah. It's one of those moments that feel you can sort of feel the cheapness a little bit, but. So Ivanova's.
Do you not want to talk about the scene beforehand where like they're in a room together?
Oh, the romance. Honestly, I kind of forgot about it, but yes, I suppose you have much to say about this.
Look, I know not everybody likes it when I talk about it, but Cole is the worst. He's just like watching over her sleeping, does this thing with his hand over her face. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an Minbari thing he picked up in the Rangers. Talking about how she'll never know, and he's so like awkward and weird, and she wakes up and she's pissed off at him, and she's like, "By the way, I've learned a little Minbari. Thank you for the compliment." And I hate it. Like I just I hate this so much. It's so bad. It's not a good romance. We've had examples of good romance in the show. I love Sheridan and Delenn. This I do not like. Do not want. Nope. It seems like maybe she's dead anyway. I don't think so, because
I don't think so.
I think if she was going to die, she would have died here. I don't think they would keep her alive for another episode.
Yeah, I think it obviously it's kind of weird because we already kind of know that she is in the rest of the episodes of the season, and or at least maybe not everyone, but we know that she's in the finale, because then that finale gets pushed to the end of season 5 and she's still there. So she's missing for season 5, but she's there in the last episode because it was shot as the season 4 finale originally. So we know that.
I mean, but who knows what the finale is? Maybe the finale is like far in the future, like 3,000 years or something. And they're like, look at what happened because of the events on Babylon 5 or something, Maybe no one's in the finale.
Well, no, I've actually heard people talk about this. Before we even started reviewing it, I've heard people talking about how she is gone and then comes back for the finale because it was shot before. So I do know that.
You've mentioned things before. I wish you wouldn't have, but it's fine.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a confusing thing to even think about, and then also, I don't know. It's ruining my speculations.
I like to know it just because if it does feel a little jarring when we get to the final episode of the season, and then again for the following season, I want to understand why. I want to be prepped for it and have the context and whatever.
Sure.
But because of that, when this happened, I thought, oh, this actually does feel like a death. And they actually say she's lying there on the table. She's got this big neck brace on and stuff. And she's like, Sheridan, be honest with me. I'm making it. And he's like, no. And apparently she has days, a week at most left. So I don't know if there's going to be some sort of miracle cure or whatever.
Well, but I mean, they have the miracle cure device. Did everyone just forget?
Did they still have that, or was that taken by Earth? Did they Because I feel like they were.
I think I would have remembered.
Because I remember them taking artifacts at one point. I wonder if they took that as well. I don't know.
You think they raided the station for anything alien?
They might have done, because they definitely came and took something else in season 1 that was like that. It was like, no, this is theirs now. They're taking it back to Earth.
Well, they used it on Garibaldi in season 2.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, like, maybe I'm thinking of things from before then, but I'm just not sure. Like, do they still actually have that? Is it still on the station?
Oh, come on. I mean, they bring back stuff from, from episodes and things that we thought were very non-essential. Like, oh, that's back. Okay. I mean, it has to be the only thing that's there, right? If she's actually like only got days, unless an alien has some miracle cure.
I'm just offering reasons why they're not using that device. That's all I'm trying to do. As I'm trying to offer you possible reasons.
Okay.
I'm not saying I know. I'm not saying
I'm trying to fight you. I'm just saying, like, why has nobody brought it up yet? We all donate a little bit of life force.
Does Sheridan even know about it?
Yeah, because they used it on Garibaldi.
Oh yeah, he was there for that.
When he was in the coma.
Yeah, he was there for that. It's just not thought of it yet. I mean, it's been a while. It's back in the station. They're out here in the fleet.
You have a miracle cure for everything on your station.
But they're not at the station though. They're ages from the station. They're on their way to Mars.
Okay.
And Franklin's down in Mars himself, so he doesn't even know about Ivanova yet.
If I were Franklin, I'd keep that thing on me all the time.
Just have it in his backpack, just in case any dangerous situations come up.
Why are you always carrying around that giant backpack? You see no reason.
Yeah, I mean, no, like, I'm not.
Just read the note attached to it in case something happens to me.
But because I know she's going to be there in the finale that gets pushed to the season 5 finale, I do expect that she will survive. Now maybe she's in a wheelchair, maybe she's not in like fit and fighting condition necessarily, but I do expect she'll survive.
Maybe she is a hallucination from Sheridan. Who knows?
Maybe she's in a maybe that's how you don't have to explain why she's gone all of season 5 is because she's actually like the one scene she was going to be in the finale was just a ghost type appearance anyway.
Maybe, I don't know. I think that if they were going to kill her, I think that would have been the end of this episode.
Sure.
I think she's around for one more episode just so they can have her come back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think she's dying, but we shall see. But
if I didn't know about the finale thing, I might have been like, oh, that's why she's not in season 5. She's dead.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that I heard that, the reason why she's not in season 5, though, is because, she'd already taken another job because they didn't think they were getting renewed, makes me think they were planning on her being in all of season 5. So, therefore, she's probably not dead. That's my thinking. But we'll find out. We'll find out. But it does add this way, it is a good emotional scene. I do like the performances in the scene. I like this idea that Sheridan has gotten back to the White Star. He has his emotional reunion with Delenn, but immediately it's like, I need to go see Ivanova. Like, as much as it's great to see you again, and I'm back from being captured and all that. Like, my good friend Ivanova is dying and has had a serious injury and won this big fight for us. And destroyed these like big weapons that were going to be a big deal and maybe stop us. She accomplished a big part of this war effectively. So it sold the weight of it all. The emotion in the scene was good, and she actually, we find out Ivanova's request here at the end of the scene before, after it cuts, is for him to like command the rest of this fight from his old ship, because all the White Stars are gone. Like they seem to all be destroyed. And you see it as well. That's one of the things I liked about the fight scene or the battle scene is they're in like a formation, and like Ivanova's still firing on the destroyer, but you actually see like some of the White Stars right next to the main ship getting like blown up. Like they're just like dropping like around her, and it's just like, oh, this actually feels like someone might die here. And and I suppose if I was watching this without any prior knowledge, I would say that scene with Cole is actually a scene that I would say maybe suggests she might die, because that's why she has that scene with them, to give them like this sort of,
or that he was going to die,
or that he was going to die.
Yeah,
I think that's wishful.
That didn't happen.
That's wishful thinking on your part.
Worst character in the show.
I think that's fair. So, yeah, that's how the episode ends, with him taking his seat, and they're on their way to Mars. Like we're on to the next part of this campaign. Like the only real complaint I have, other than the one or two little nitpicks of like the tone of that like Lita joke that went on a bit too long or whatever, The only real complaint I'd have about this is that I do feel it's a smidged fast. Everything feels like it is a little bit condensed and quick, and we know that's because they were kind of rushing to this end point they're getting to at the end of the season. But
I mean, Sheridan definitely needs a day off before taking over the fleet.
Oh sure. He needs to take a hot bath. He needs to relax a little bit. Let Delenn give him some Minbari food or something. Just
no rituals.
No rituals. He's earned a break from rituals.
Just a lot of green juice and stuff.
Yeah. Although his beard is coming in now, because I know in season 5 he has a beard based on the poster. So I was excited. See when he walked in and he still had the bit of the beard coming. I was like, oh, the beard's coming.
I like the beginning where they kept showing the back and forth between him in the interrogation chair and then him talking to Franklin, and it kept going back and forth between a clean cut version of him and where he's actually at, and it is very oh wow, he is messed up. I like his performance a lot.
Yeah, I do. I mean, a little real facial hair, so I do wonder what the shooting schedule was to make this work. Where obviously they shot the scenes where he was clean. I would say they shot the clean shaven stuff at the end and he just had him shave his beard, but if he keeps his beard going, he's got a full beard in season 5, then he probably doesn't shave his beard.
Maybe it's not a real beard that we see then.
I'm pretty sure it's real.
In the shaven part, where it's manscaped.
Wait, what?
Well, he's got a beard when he's talking to Franklin. Also, he's not completely clean shaven.
Oh, does he? Okay. Well, maybe it's faking that scene when it's more full. But yeah, I didn't remember that. I thought he was clean shaven. I thought that's the point you were making.
No, I mean he had some nice manscaping done on his face, but it's not. But he does have a bit of a beard.
Well, in that case, my original theory then is maybe right, where they shot this scene with Franklin later on, after maybe the next episode, so that his beard had become more full.
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
And just slide it in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. It's always fun how they handle this when they wanted to real his beard's coming in gradually kind of thing, and just shooting around it.
I thought that scene was really well shot anyway, just because they kept going back and forth to different characters being in different sets.
Yeah,
also,
yeah,
it was well done.
Because there's times
what is real.
Because there's times when it's the interrogator's sitting there instead of Franklin, but then there's times when Franklin's sitting in the interrogation room, and
And it was good because at first I was like, so is this is he really having the conversation with Franklin and he's just remembering what the interrogator said to words are hard, said to to him to say when he's asked these things, or is it and he's not, or is he still not rescued yet, that kind of thing, because he kept going back and forth, and you figure it out eventually. But it was a good way to start the episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a very good episode. It was hard to fault.
Yeah. Lots happened.
The season, really hit another peak again. It's so funny because it had a season finale feel at episode 7, and then it had to slow down again and build things back up, and then these last 3 or 4 episodes have been peaking again, and it's just it's such a weird feeling, but you can kind of tell that it was originally spread out over more time, but they've condensed it. But hey, that's cool. To have a good time with it, and I'm liking a lot of the dramatic beats. They're really playing on how we feel about a lot of the characters now, and it's landing really well. But as a result, I care about what everyone thinks about Garibaldi. I care about Lando Jakar sticking up for Sheridan. I care about Sheridan. I care about Delenn. All these things happening, and obviously Ivanova, having her potential last hurrah. But we'll see.
But not with Marcus. Cool.
He said his first name as well, Tara. What's wrong with you?
That's what the shiver was. It was so wrong.
No. But that is the episode. So let us know what you thought of this Babylon 5 episode in the comments. Like, subscribe, ding the bell for notifications. All that stuff does help a lot. But you can also support us other ways, can't they, Tara?
Yep, just holding back a sneeze.
I slowed down there because I could see you might need a second to prepare.
That's right, Peter. If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MildFuzzTV, where you can donate as low as $1 per month, and you'll get access to a bunch of bonus reviews for our sci-fi show. And if you donate $5 per month, you'll get access to these Babylon 5 reviews 6 days early, and some other shows you get early too. So head on over and check that out if that interests you. Thank you.
And there you go. So that is Babylon 5. We are very rapidly approaching the end of season 4, and I think, do you know what I think it is? I think because it did feel like it had like a finale almost at episode 7 and then started again, it kind of feels like we're always 7 behind where we actually are in the season. You know, if you count episode 8 as like the episode 1 of a new season, because that's what it feels like, it feels like we're only, 12 episodes in instead of 19.
I mean, so much has happened, yeah. In just the last, third of what we've watched.
So, very cool. But that is us, so thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Babylon 5. Just don't give away the homeworld.